Hi, I'm Greg Hale. I'm the editor of Intact Magazine, and I'm here today at the Honeywell User Group meeting, and I'm meeting with Chris Stearns. Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, thank you, Greg. Yes, my name is Chris Stearns. I work for Honeywell Process Solutions. I've been with Honeywell for 15 years, and currently I'm a solutions manager in our marketing department.
Chris, can you tell me a little bit about the operations excellence model?
Sure, Greg. The operations excellence model is actually not a Honeywell product per se. It's really a management style to make sure that the operations are done in a way to make the company as effective and as competitive as possible in their marketplace.
What's the most important factor when you're implementing an operations excellence model?
So the portions that Honeywell actually does in terms of supporting an operations excellence model is really helping the end user with the work processes associated with that model. The work processes are obviously then enabled by the tools and solutions that Honeywell can provide. So it goes the full gamut from the operator interface and how it's effectively designed all the way through to the production management tools so that the production teams are monitoring the limits and how the units are performing and those kinds of things. So it's quite a wide range of solutions that Honeywell provides. It's hard to say that any one thing is the most important, but what we'd probably suggest is the most important currently is making sure that all the effective design limits, the boundaries, if you will, of that process are well captured, documented, and then used within the system so that the operations teams know what those limits are and operate within those limits.
How does today's economic climate play into the whole operations excellence model?
Well, it's just as important as ever. Obviously, there might be differences now in terms of how the plant is operated based on production needs, but to be able to capture the value and stay competitive, you need to be able to play well in terms of reliability and maintenance. And so these applications, when you're running within your limits and you're staying within those limits, you're keeping your equipment sound and safe and happy and able to be as reliable and as available as possible. So it's in that regard, it ends up becoming a bit of a cost avoidance kind of approach.
How does the whole baby boomer leaving the industry play into this whole model?
That's a very good question. So as I think we've probably heard quite a bit over the last few years, we're losing skills, we're losing people. So a part of this operations excellence and operator effectiveness is capturing that knowledge and being able to use that knowledge. So there's lots of examples of how those things can be done. Everything from implementing simulations, implementing procedures to best practices, implementing all the alarm management systems with appropriately documented alarms, all this stuff that comes from the experts that are soon to be leaving your facilities, excuse me. So that's very important. Good question.
What is the goal for operations excellence? Is it reducing waste or increasing productivity or both?
Well, certainly there's an aspect of all of that. So at its highest level, it's making the enterprise more competitive in their market space. And lots of levers can be turned to do that, right? So Honeywell likes to think that the operations excellence model, as we can help in terms of enabling those work processes, actually can affect not only efficiency or production type targets and those kinds of things, but also can impact safety, which is a bit of an insurance kind of cost, if you will. But also the reliability then of that unit. So, you're not having things go down, you're not having things being maintained when, it wasn't planned, that kind of thing. So it really does encompass nearly everything that you mentioned.
Okay. Now, change management is a huge issue within the industry. How receptive are people to this? I mean, there's a lot of change involved, and we know change is not easy.
Yeah, that's certainly always a challenge. The change management is something that every enterprise struggles with. Honeywell's obviously has a lot of tools and solutions that helps with what those customers are trying to do. But oftentimes that change management is really something that happens at the enterprise level and moves down. So the upper management of these operating companies really need to embrace these operations excellence programs, and it needs to flow through the organization. It's not something that can be done from the bottom up.
All right, so it's got to definitely go from the top down, but everybody's got to buy into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said.
All right. The Honeywell introduces this, but what is their involvement along the way? Are they acting as a system integrator and they're launching it and then acting on it throughout the whole implementation and then walking away, or are they staying with it the entire time?
Right. So typically, an operations excellence program is something that a consultant firm or something like that will help put in place. It involves the management structures and the organization structures, all the way down to those various work processes that the operations teams and others will interact with or have to execute. So Honeywell oftentimes then is a partner in terms of providing some of those solutions. We're not typically implementing the entire operations excellence program in and of itself for a customer.
Are your customers coming to you saying we need this kind of program, or are you going to them saying we need this kind of program, or you need this kind of program?
Right. Oftentimes, the customers are certainly the larger global multinational type companies are already embraced this kind of a concept and already looking for ways to move it forward. And where they're struggling is when the rubber hits the road and they actually have to enable these work processes that they put together. They need the tools and solutions to actually make those work. And that's where Honeywell comes in and has a role to play.
What kind of return on investment do you get out of this program?
So we've had some statistics that we've worked with some of the consultant firms to understand, but for a relatively medium-sized refinery, for instance, there's been statistics that suggest payback of about $25 million a year.
Wow.
So it really does have the potential. Now, this is a full-scale operations excellence program. You're not going to just pick a piece of it and do, say, alarm management and expect to get that kind of return. Mm-hmm. But when you embrace the whole operations excellence program, there are serious potential outcomes there.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.